Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reality Bank. And I want to thank each and every single viewer who has been part of the FEBA family, who have been watching our videos regularly and have been supporting us. I want to be grateful to each and every one of you all. Now, if you all want to get in touch with us, you can definitely get in touch with us at 63642521 and 64. And if you want to email to us, you can definitely do that at info@febaonline.org. So, for today's topic, we it's not just the topic. I think even the speakers are going to switching today. That's why Johan has been smiling from giggling from that time because usually Johan does the hosting and I do a lot of the talking. Today is the other
Yeah.
way around. Today Johan will do the most of the talking and I'll just be cheerleading Johan here and there. So today's topic is about career shifts. So we are it's a topic that's very important that I wanted to talk about because it's something we have seen like among our friends itself, right? Like
Yeah.
studying something and then doing something else, and it's a completely normal thing. I've seen so many people do, yeah, most like I've seen so many of my friends itself do that switch. And but
Mhm.
the thing is, I'm literally doing what I studied, so I was not the right person to answer. Johan, on the other hand, has done all those career shifts, so I felt like he was the right person to answer. So before
Basically,
we
jack
talk,
of all trades.
you're the jack of all trades. You pretty much have gone through each and every like stream also, no, almost science, commerce,
Yeah.
and arts almost. So yeah, so he's good to for this today. So before we get into like your career shift and everything, let's go back to college, like what you
Mhm.
studied. And since by the way, both of us are batchmates. We have never met in college though, but
Yeah.
both of us were batchmates in college. So can you tell the viewers like what you studied and why you chose that course actually?
Like, okay, so I started with BA in Joseph's. It At that time it was known as Science and Arts. It was autonomous. Now it's just become a university. We don't
Yeah.
get that university privilege. But
Hmm.
I did a triple major in journalism, international relations, and public policy. Now,
Yeah.
why I selected it was the only one that didn't have an entrance exam.
And I think that year only they started the course if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it was a brand new, fresh course. So basically, we were the lab rats. Like
Nice.
60 selective students became the lab rats of this course. And it was quite fun, actually. Like, initially, I expected, maybe to, just relax, just do my own thing, not really study about it. It's not going to be interesting. It's just going to be another, a BA course or
Hmm.
just a bachelor's. Then, like, as I started, like, initially, let's just say I just went with my own fun, like, for a solid year, I just had my own fun. I didn't really focus on studying anything like that. My report card will show you that exactly. Then, like,
Hmm.
once the lockdown came and everything, it was like very disconnected rather. So the whole online exam and all, it was super super disconnected. I barely could understand exactly what the teachers were trying to say, because when you're in
Hmm.
actual setting in class, it's a lot easier to understand, it's a lot easier to pick up. And these are new subjects, right? I didn't
Hmm.
know anything about journalism. Public policy I may have
Hmm.
known a little bit because I did political science in my PU, and international relations was
Hmm.
totally brand new, so I had no clue what to expect
Hmm.
while going in. But my dad, he kept on pushing it. He's like, go for international relations, go for public policy, go for journalism. These are very good subjects. Your scope would be very, what do you say, you have a lot more scope, you can do pick up anything. And eventually I did end up picking a lot of things later on. But
Nice.
then, like, in the final year, that's when I really started to enjoy the subject. I really started to get a use for it, get a use for the teachers, get a use for the teaching, and understand it a lot more better. And that's when it started picking up, and that's that.
But wait, so but wait, you are not at all interested in like when you applied for the course, you actually were not interested in the subjects.
I was not interested in doing degree, but Indian parents, right?
Uh-huh. So you just did BA because like was there a reason that you ended up like going for this BA or you had tried for other stuff as well
So the thing
actually?
is, like, I never really tried for anything. Like, this course just popped up on Joseph's website, and I remember my dad and I, we sat down and we had a talk. He's telling me exactly like what you can do after these subjects. He's like, you can become an ambassador for various
Hmm.
countries, and you can you travel around the world, because that was my actual dream, to make a lot of money and travel around the world. And he's like, yeah, these
Hmm.
subjects can help you in it, especially international
Hmm.
relations. So I was like, okay, fine, let's go and see. I had zero interest in doing anything, but I was like,
Hmm.
okay, let's go and see. Let's see what the
Hmm.
hype is about. Why my dad is just so influenced with just international relations. And after I studied, then I realized it is very nice. It was very nice to study
So
it.
yeah, so that's what. So final year, you said you got interested in the subjects.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
by final year, I want to ask you like, why did you imagine like your job would be if you had taken that field or something? Like, what you imagined
Mhm.
your future would have been like at that time? Do you have any? Did you have any like vision like how it would have been?
Of course, like anyone who takes a degree, they will be like, okay, let's just say they're doing engineering. I'll become a very good engineer, mechanical engineer, whatever. And even I also had that inspiration, like, what if, like, some good fortune, some good luck, I finish the degree and then suddenly, we have this campus recruitment and then I get selected for anything big. Unfortunately, it
Hmm.
did not happen. But that was my dream. Like maybe it would have happened. That was my thing,
Hmm.
because everyone doing a degree, they always expect like immediately finish it, then you can go for something greater, you can start making a lot of money,
Hmm.
because let's be honest, the rate of living is quite high.
Yeah. Wait, but like you never looked at it like for example like international relations like and
Yeah.
journalism like in that
Mhm.
field what were like the options that would have been available to you like job profession which kind of professions?
Like I'm not sure exactly, because my dad told something about there were certain NGO companies who
Hmm.
hire you based on this particular course, and then they will give you like international treaties or something to do a
Hmm.
case study or something like that, and then work with various international government bodies rather.
Hmm.
And
Okay, okay.
that, yeah, that's the thing he told me about, and I was like, okay, maybe as a fresh I can get in. Later I come to know you have to do a whole masters in it, and then go for a PhD, and only then you can proceed into certain things to get a good paying salary
Oh,
in various
so
in
that
these
profession
organizations.
actually had a longer run
Yeah,
road
it had a
than
longer
just a
scope. Yeah,
UG. Yeah.
yeah, it had much longer than a UG. You had to do a PhD in order to
Hmm.
get into that kind of a
Okay,
position.
okay.
And if you're interested, go for IAS exams. You would easily get in. It would make it a
Yeah,
lot easier.
yeah, okay, so let's get into like what you ended up doing because we by the time we joined FEBA, by the time I joined, you were working in another place, and then you had shifted a couple of jobs also, from what I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
And you, from what I know, you didn't end up like really working what you did, like what you studied in UG. Like you did different fields,
nope,
right? So how
yeah,
did
yeah.
that come about? Like what is the reason like you ended up, doing a different, getting into a different field?
Let's just say the pay. You need money,
Okay.
right? Like after you finish
Uh,
degree, everyone has that idea. Yeah, I have to start earning. I have to start, making my own bread, making
hmm,
stuff for myself, and all of that. So initially, like after finishing degree, I had only one thing to complete. I had an internship left, and without
hmm,
it, I would not get the degree certificate. So then I went to Indian Express and I got an internship there, and I worked in criminal law, like not like criminal news for 2 3 days, and they themselves told, if you are not interested in journalism, never take it up. Like if you don't have that love for it, you cannot function just based on the pay. You have to have that love for it.
it's
And I
not a
realized
rewarding
that
profession. I know it's not a rewarding profession at all.
exactly. And like as I kept working for those 3 days, and then later I was like, okay, this is not for me. I'm not going here and there for random stuff and taking pictures and all. It was very interesting to do, but then I'm not an investigator or anything like that.
Hmm,
This needed you to actually write about the entire thing, and
hmm,
that's something I could not really do at that time.
hmm,
And then they shifted me to City Express. So this is
hmm.
stuff that happening inside Bangalore. It was very easy to do. It was very nice. It was very chill to do. And let's just say they give the interns all their hard work. So to write articles, yeah, you have to take care of it.
Obviously.
Yeah. And to paraphrase it, like bring it down to a concise number of words, yeah, you had to do all of that. They just write some big, big stuff and then they give it to you. You have to somehow make it, and then they'll go to the final edit. And
Hmm,
yeah, all the interns got that kind of job. And I was like, okay, what if this is the kind of scenario? Then later I got a reality check by one of I think one of a new editor. He had just joined like a week later after I started the internship, and he was like, yeah, it is not. it's nothing like this. Then he showed exactly what he had to do. And before coming to the office, you had to, go to various places, visit, get some info, all of that. And then after office, he used to go to the stand-up comedies,
Oh,
and he used to watch
nice.
them, and he used to write about them. And I was like,
Ah,
wow, okay, so he has an
nice.
interest in certain things, and that's
Mm,
why he was able to do it. But I don't have that kind of interest. I mean,
mm,
a little bit was there at the time, but these guys, like, they live and they bleed journalism, so that was something
mm,
I didn't have. And then
mm,
later on, after the internship, I ended up applying, I think, on Indeed. Yeah, I think on Indeed I ended up applying. And
mm,
like hardly 2 3 days, I already got a call for an administrative executive and customer relations manager, fancy words. And I expected something, very easygoing, very chill, like, you just finished college, you need to take it a little bit easy before you start getting into that. But the moment I started working there, I realized, oh yeah, this is extremely hectic, because from a small task, I was made a manager of the entire thing, like the entire
mm.
wellness center and the cafe. I had to manage everything, like the stocks. None of this was mentioned in the job description, by the way. They come and tell
Ah,
me on the job, and then they kept on increasing my tasks day by day. And I was like, okay, fine, no wonder. So that's where I came to be known as the jack of all trades. I was a chef, I was a manager, I was a salesperson, I was taking care of the stock inventory. I even made smoothies as well in the cafe. So I was part of
oh,
everything.
damn. Oh, I didn't know this.
Even a DJ also I was for like about 2 times for
Oh, I
music.
didn't. I didn't know all this.
And that was
Nice.
just in the period of like 6.5 months. Then I ended up leaving that place because I thought, okay, maybe I'd go for studies or later than that. And then I ended up joining UNICEF for sales and marketing. That
Yeah.
was interesting because that kind of aligned to the international relations part, but then again, it was sales and marketing. It wasn't, you actually doing that kind of work for UNICEF. It was just
Mm,
you just going and asking people for donations. And it was interesting. I learned a lot, like from sales and
mm,
marketing. I learned how everything works. And let me tell you, if you guys are, doing charity, uh hats off to you, because I realized that was a extremely difficult job for like
mm.
2 to 4 months. That was horrible, like really horrible. I started at 8, and sometimes I used to finish like at 1:30 in the morning. And then by the time I come home,
Wow.
it was like 2:15 something. Roads were free, so it was easy to come. And then I had to eat, and then I had to sleep, and I barely had enough time to sleep, so it was very hectic doing all of this.
Mm.
And then later on, I
Fundraising is no, that's why fundraising is actually very difficult for like NGOs, right? In
exactly.
general.
Exactly.
Mm,
Like if you're volunteering, it's like kind of okayish, you
mm.
can do it. But if you're actually working for fundraising, yeah, it's very hard to do.
So yeah, so after UNICEF also you actually did some like did you work anywhere else after that? Or
Yes. I worked in a real estate company. So again, I went to sales, but not in anything. I just went to selling houses to people. And
nice.
that was also good until, like, I realized like the properties this guy was giving was kind of, not that great. And you see the look
Okay.
on your clients' faces, and you can tell like these are some things they do not want to say. So that I still stayed in real estate, by the way. I went to another company. It was much better, much better. They gave like
Mm,
solid properties where you could actually sell, where you can actually make money. And
okay.
that was interesting because I learned a lot from the clients. And even like they were having a little bit of disputes among themselves, I ended up stepping in. It was not my place, but still I had to step in, right? And then I kind of ended up,
Mm,
telling them various things and somehow convincing them. And they were like kind of impressed. They were actually, the whole thing about my later thing, what I'm doing currently, came from one of my clients. He's like, you're very good at, interrogating, you're very good at, like kind of solving issues to a certain extent. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then he told, why not you try something? I'll get to that something in a little bit. So that's where it all started from. And now I'm doing what I'm doing.
mm. But here's the thing, like you did not like directly actually like shift to like a different stream. You actually tried journalism, right? You
Yeah, I
actually
actually
tried
did.
what you were doing, and then just I think for you it was really like right place at the right time, if that's
Yeah,
the best link to put. You just
yeah,
but it's good you just went with the you just went with the flow and you just saw whatever works out. Let's figure it out like that. You went in that way. So that
Yeah.
was good. But then also like one of the things, knowing you for a long time, I know you have worked in, you have done work from home from what I know. You have
Mhm.
worked in you worked in like startups. I don't know if you can call them
Yeah, yeah. Like three, four startups I have worked in.
like hybrid also, right? Like work from
Yeah.
home and going to. So can you tell about these three? Like how different for you were like all these three? Like, but did you like it? Which was your favorite also of the three that you preferred?
Well, my favorite was going actually to the office and working, because at least there I don't
Mm,
have time to, focus on anything else whatsoever happening at home. I don't have time to, fidget with my phone or play games and all. Like work was work at the workplace. Now, even the
mm,
work from home thing, it started as a hybrid, then later became work from home because of the rain conditions. Then again, it went back to
mm,
hybrid. that
mm,
was that was a bit iffy. So whenever I was at the workplace, I used to get things done for the remaining days when I had to go back home. So I used to sit there
mm,
and work overtime to get everything done. So I know whenever I go back home and whenever it's days like where you work from home, I'm never going to get anything done. Till now,
yeah.
there's not one productive day where I was at home and I actually did work. I just
Mm,
logged in and I was just chilling the rest of the day. I took my other laptop and I was just gaming the entire time.
yeah.
I didn't do any work. So that's why I had to make it up for the other 3 days. So in the 3 days, I worked really hard and I just somehow made it up. But
Mm,
the best thing is like actually going there and working, because that's when you can actually learn a lot
mm,
more. And of course, like socializing with people, you'll get to know people a lot better than the hybrid setting.
yeah.
Because hybrid setting, you're meeting them for like only 3 days, and the other 3 days you're at home. So it's not really,
Mm.
it's quite pointless.
But I agree with that. Like going to working in a place is a lot better because the best advantage of work from home is the level of freedom that you have. that
Yeah.
that level of freedom cannot be compared. But the major
Mhm.
problem with work from home is it somewhat like blurs the line between like work life and personal life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you end up both of them gets mixed, and when you're sitting at home, sometimes you may not
Mhm.
necessarily have the energy to just do the work. But when you're at work, when you're in that
Yeah.
workspace where everyone else also working, it somewhat puts you
Mhm.
in that zone to actually sit and work. But yeah, but
Exactly.
work from home has those advantages. But I think if you are doing work from home, I think you need to be extremely disciplined. I think that is very important if you're going to
Yeah.
do work from home. Yeah, like that's one of the things I remember when I was in college. Also, one person was running like a creative agency or something. He had done a
Mhm.
workshop. Someone asked him about like freelancing. He said it's
Mhm.
gonna take just the work part will take you like 5 to 10 years maybe to become good, to make a actual living out of it. But you need to have extreme discipline in free as a freelancer. If you don't have that discipline, it's not gonna work because
Yeah.
that level of freedom that's gonna come to you, that I think that can somewhat spoil you in ways that you don't want to get spoiled. I feel. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and because of the advantages you have, you somewhat may feel like I'll finish it a little bit later, I'll finish the work a little later, and then by the time you
Mhm.
realize time is less and you can't
Exactly.
so I think that discipline is very important. But yeah, I do agree that in terms of like getting good quality of work, I think working, going to the office and working will always be much better. But I wanted
Also,
to
the
ask you
best
like
part,
about.
the one more thing, the best part of actually working in person is like your time is that's it. If you want to do overtime, that's up to you. Or whether there's any
Yeah,
pending work, you can do overtime. But if you're
yeah.
working at home, yeah, sometimes your log out is at 7, but they'll call you at 8 and they'll be like, okay, yeah, we have some project to do. You have to get on it. So like, yeah,
They'll send you email like at night, and they'll send you work like in the middle of the night also to get it done.
exactly.
Because I also did an internship before joining FEBA, and yeah, like,
Mhm.
but luckily for me, like they didn't expect it like that night itself. They were like fine if I gave the work next day morning also. So that
Mhm.
wasn't a problem for me. But also wanted to ask you like about startups, like
Yeah.
uh but have you like only worked in like startups, or you have worked in like proper like a full-fledged like a corporate companies? Have you ever worked like that in a corporate
No,
place?
not really corporate. I didn't go corporate.
Mm.
So most
But
of it
for
was just
you,
startup.
with startup, like, do you feel like there is any like advantage or disadvantage of working in a like a startup place?
Startup, let's just say you learn a lot of things. So as I told, like in my first startup, I was a jack of all trades. Like
Right.
without me, I'll tell you that place never functioned. I remember I never went on a Tuesday because it was my birthday. I told, okay, I'm taking a day off. And the very next day, I come to see there was a whole lot of problems on one day where I never went. So
Mm,
I was basically the gears necessary to grind that entire place. But working in a startup is, you have more chance of growth actually. But
mm,
in a corporate, like, you have to go through various systems, various levels, and some people are not really cut out for that, because you have to keep going on and on and on and on
yeah.
for years, for decades, and then finally you'll get some promotion where you're happy, and then later on you realize, okay, no, I want something bigger. So in
Mm,
a startup, it's possible to achieve that in like maybe less than half the amount of time. So I went
mm,
from whatever I was designated as, the customer relations manager, administrative executive, to
mm,
direct manager in less than a month.
mm, yeah. Mm,
And of course, the pay did increase by around 10K extra, because it was
mm,
startups. The only downside is they would pay you less. That's it. But the experience you get from it, and the stuff, like a lot of things you get to do, and that's the two main things. If you're
mm,
not really interested in pay, if you're interested in the experience and getting exposure into various fields, yeah, startup is definitely
mm.
for you.
But that's the thing. The advantage, like you said, the advantage of startups is like that experience that you get from it. You can't get it in bigger companies that easily. But then
Exactly.
also, I think the problem with startups is like work time hours is a lot higher
Yeah, it's a lot
comparatively.
more. Yeah.
Like, yeah, because they're just starting, right? They really want to
Hmm.
hustle and make the company go up, climb up the ladders and do really well. So
Yeah.
that they do stretch out that number of work hours. That I think that is a
Hmm.
disadvantage. And I think most of the people I know who gone for startups, they've been told you have to do this one job. When they enter, they end up doing five, six jobs. I've always
Exactly.
seen.
Yeah.
I've always seen. But the big companies' advantage, I think, is one, it's actually difficult to find the right people, the right company.
Hmm.
But if you
Yeah.
find the right company, the best advantage is you find experienced people. That is the
Hmm.
biggest. I think when the moment you have these experienced people in the field who are genuinely willing to like mentor you and help you and make you better at this job, if you have such kind of people, grateful if you get such people in for a job, that kind of experience that you can learn from those people, that is something
Hmm.
that even a startup cannot do. you know
Yeah.
so that's the thing, like even working in a bigger company has those advantages. But I think if you're going to do an internship, I would always say like do in startups, like from, because when I was in
Hmm.
college, like a lot of the people who did like internships in like a bigger companies, they got very less workload, and barely the workload they got, they didn't learn anything much. But the ones who ended
Hmm.
up working in startups, because they were interns, it is unfortunate that they just unnecessarily load a lot of work into that intern. But that intern ends up learning. It's like a working experience. So in that way,
Yeah.
if you're an intern who's trying to work in like a startup, uh pay, I think, if pay is something that you're keeping in mind. I don't know how much you have to think of startups. They don't, some of them don't pay either they pay really bad or they don't pay at all, some of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those things are a problem. But that's the advantage of living in Bangalore. No, like Bangalore has so many startups. like
Exactly.
like if you enter Indranagar itself, it has in one road you'll find like some 10 to 15 startups. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. But so let's get into the final question. That is,
Hmm.
what you're doing now. You're studying law right now.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what is the reason that you ended up, leaving work and starting a degree again? That's the thing. Like, it's like you're going to square one almost. It seems like that. So, what's the
Yeah.
reason you came to this place?
Let's just say, like, you remember the time I told you, like, a little bit early in the conversation, like, a client actually told me, like, hey, you could be really good at law. You have this kind of a talent, innate
Yeah.
talent. So that's when it started grinding for me. And then I was like, wait, because in these certain startups, as I said, money became an issue later on, because I wanted to make more. I wanted to live a little bit of a better life, like finer things in life, to put it
Mm,
bluntly. And I have a huge bike obsession, right? And all the bikes that I really want to own, they cost a lot of money, and there's no way I'm making it in a startup. Absolutely no chance. So I was
Mm,
like, okay, let's see what I have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how my life is going to be.
mm,
Then I took a break for about 3 4 months. I ended up leaving the company and took a break for 3 4 months.
mm,
And that's when my friend really told, like, you know what, why don't you go for law? And I was like,
mm,
wait, hold on. Our client said this to me earlier. And then I told him the entire incident of whatever happened. And he was like, yeah, you know what? You could really do well in this. You could either go for contract law, you can go for international law, even criminal also, because your
mm.
dad is one. So both my parents are advocates. So I was like, okay, why not make it a third one? Let me be the third member to finally do it. And
Why
then I
not?
went and told my, yeah, then I came back and I told my dad, like, you know what, I want to do law. The smile on his face, my gosh, I've never seen my father more proud of me ever in my
Yeah,
life.
obviously, obviously.
Because he wanted me to do engineering, I said no. He wanted me to do CA, I said no. He wanted me to do medical, I was like no. And then finally something which he never ever told, but he's doing it. And then one fine day I'm just coming and telling him, you know what, let me do exactly what you're doing. And he was like, yeah, you know what, go ahead, go ahead and do it. I will fund your full education. You don't have to ask mom about anything. You go ahead and do it. I will take care of everything. I'll take care of. I was like, okay, fine, let's go. I've never seen my father ever happy so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, like after completing this, of course, I have to do masters, and I don't know if a PhD will be in my kind of vision. Might be. I might end up doing it because I am interested in international law and criminal law very much. So I
Mm,
might end up doing a PhD in one of those later on.
mm. So how does it feel being a student again? Now, does it feel different for you?
It's in terms of money, yeah, it is very difficult because imagine for 2 years you never ask your parents for a single dime,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
2 years later you're just like, hey dad, hey mom, I need kind of cash for today for putting fuel for having food as well. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is very hard. It still is hard. Like I'm not able to swallow that. So let's just say it's kind of my own pride that I'm not
Mm,
able to handle that, but it is kind of difficult. And especially like when friends say like, you know what, let's go out somewhere, let's go for a ride, let's go have food in this place, there's a new restaurant is opened and all. I have to deny and I have to be like, yeah, I don't really have money for that. I know my parents will give, but then again, my own ego is not allowing to ask them. Like I didn't really don't want to ask them for much.
it's very weird to ask after after you have that working, no? When you
Exactly.
actually end up earning money, after that you go back to square one of asking parents. It feels weird, I know. But I wanted
Exactly.
to ask you, like, has your work experience has that helped you with like what you're studying right now in any way? Is it helping you?
Like in terms of confidence and me becoming more outspoken, yeah, it has. I will tell you, like, after I finished university, there's no way I would even survive in law. Like honestly, the amount of things I've contributed towards the class, like class debates and everything like that, I feel like without my 2 years of experience, none of this would happen. I would have still been the silent kid. I would have still been, nervous. I would still have like that kind of an anxiety, stage fear, all of that. But now, since I've actually worked, I've done presentations, I've given, spoken to clients. These are random people who I have no clue about whether they
Mm,
existed or not. And then suddenly I'm supposed to give a whole presentation to them and sell stuff to them. So I don't know. All of that just helped me to, become more outspoken, and then it kind of built my views on what
mm,
I think about certain topics. And of
mm,
course, FEBA, definitely, I can't say no. My time
mm,
at FEBA has definitely helped a lot with that. And
mm.
then that
Nice.
ended up, me doing law really well.
So, but that's the thing. Like, one great thing about you, what I've heard so far is you tried you exactly tried working, applying for jobs exactly the field that you studied. It
Yeah.
it When you went into the field, you realized it's not something you were interested in. So you tried the
Yeah.
next best thing option available, and one thing
Hmm.
after the other was working out for you, right? Like though,
Hmm.
like you
Hmm. Hmm.
mentioned, that working experience did help you with in a lot of ways. Like I think mentally it has helped you more than like theoretically. I think that's what it seems
Exactly.
as,
Yeah.
and I think that's equal. That's equally important also. So
Exactly.
that.
Like my parents used to say, like after I told them like I want to do law, they used to tell me like, "Oh, you wasted 2 years of time," and all. I was like, "No, nothing is ever wasted. Like
Mm.
either you gain experience or you just learn from it. That's all.
Mm.
So I told him like I've not lost anything. I've not lost time. I've not
Yeah,
lost
yeah.
years. I'm still young. I'm still in my youth, and all of this is going to help me. And now they're seeing how it exactly helps me.
So yeah, so for the ones who are seeing, watching our, our live show and who think, it's getting where, shifting to another career seems like a waste. The best thing is, when one thing is not working out for you and you're not happy with it, and you're trying the next, best thing option available to you, that's completely normal. That's, a lot of people, you'll be surprised how many people actually do that.
Yeah.
And if that is working out for you a lot better, that's just that's just completely like normal, and you have to just figure out what you're doing. But if you're not enjoying, that's the part where it gets difficult. So I
Yeah.
think if whatever you're doing, irrespective of a career shift or career change, do because you're interested in it. I think when you're interested in that, uh you are going to start from scratch one in a lot of these places. You may not get the best pay when you start from scratch one. You may not and working in a new place, new people might get difficult to adapt to. So all these places are difficult, but if you're genuinely like passionate about it, if you're interested in it, I don't think those things will be like an obstacle for you. So
Hmm.
if no matter what changes you guys are doing, if you're interested in it, I think you should just go for it. I think that's one good thing. So it was a good thank you so much, Johan. You have anything like final words to just quick like thing you want to tell to the audience like this, who are also like who have this career shifts like you had? Do you want to tell anything to
Hmm.
them?
Like the thing is, we in my class we have various guys who come from finance, who come from social service, social work, and they wanted to do law. Why? Because their vision is bigger than what they're thinking. It's not just
Mm,
for the time being. Like if you guys want to do something, focus on the bigger picture, not for what
mm,
you're getting in the time being. So if you have
mm,
passion, follow it. Because let's just say it's similar, going back to the old saying, you're not ever going to be happy in a place where you're not really happy, where you're not
yeah.
doing exactly what you want to be doing, where you love doing what you're doing. You're never really going to perform there. But
Mm,
even if it's something, say something very small like painting, you
mm,
just get selected for painting various things for a small startup, and they're paying you a small sum of money. That experience and that love for your painting is going to grow, and you're going to end up making a lot more and being a well-renowned
mm,
name. It doesn't matter how
mm,
you start, it matters how you end.
mm. So yeah, so I think it's a good way to end it. So yeah, it's completely fine when you change your shift, but make sure you're doing it with passion. That's the most
Yeah.
important part.
Yep.
So, so that brings us to the end of today's live show. Thank you, Johan. Thank you for sharing your entire experience. It
Thank
was
you.
great.
Thank
So,
you.
so for the viewers, I want to thank each and everyone who have watched the live show today. And again, if you guys want to get in touch with us, you can get in touch with us at 63642521 and 64. And if you want to email us, you can do that as well at info@febaonline.org. Once again, thank you so much for coming for today's live show. See you all next week.